What is up, everybody? My name is Laura Cross, and I am bringing y'all another squat tutorial, winter edition. Since it is too cold outside for me to want to do this outside right now. Plus, it gets dark so early. It's already dusk. Anyways, so I'm gonna go ahead and break down a few of the fundamentals of the squat. All right, so let's go ahead and start from the ground up. So I'm gonna start with talking about the feet. So you're welcome to wear shoes while you squat, by the way, but I just like being barefoot when I can. Yeah, if you really want the best lifting shoe for a squat, it's going to be something that has a hard sole. They have specific lifting shoes for that. I bought some Adidas lifting shoes a while ago. The other pair of shoes that I have, my running shoes, these would be about the worst probably that you could have because of how squishy they are, and you want to be able to not have any energy lost as you drive through your heels up through the squat. A lot of people will lack the ankle mobility to be able to get full depth on their squats. So if you are not able to get a full depth when you do squat, I will go over some of my favorite and most simple stretches at the end of this. But anyways, so I'm gonna stand shoulder width apart or a little wider depending on your anatomy and what allows you to get the best range. But you don't want to be super narrow. That's just doesn't give you enough room for your hips to be able to come through. So from here, I'm going to rotate my femurs out to give some extra room as I'm squatting. So it's a really simple move. All right, so once I'm gonna keep them here, I'm gonna put my arms out if I do not have a barbell to help me balance, and I'm gonna continue to push my knees out as my hips drop. So as you can see, my heels are even coming up a little bit right now. So I'm gonna need to do some more of my ankle mobility. I guess I've gotten a little lazy with it. If I was wearing those running shoes, it would actually give my heels an extra lift to help adjust for that. So anyways, so here's a look from the outside, pushing my hips back, squatting down. I want to get, so here is, if you can see it, so here is parallel. I want my femur bone to be parallel to the ground or deeper. I want to keep my butt active throughout the whole squat. So I'm here, my toes are pointed a little bit out. I want to get a nice stance that feels comfortable. Activate out, use my arms to counterbalance, push my hips back, and go down. All right. So that's pretty much the basics. If you can't get all the way down right now, let me go ahead and go over my favorite ankle mobility. It's the simplest thing in the entire world. I just sit in this open position and I'm letting gravity continue to help me stretch my heels down to the ground. So when I used to have really bad ankle mobility, I would just hang out in this position. So yeah, like plan to do something while you're just holding this position and letting your heels slowly get towards the ground. Yeah, I used to just put my computer up on a chair or something, and I could be typing out emails or whatever while I was sitting here. So anyways, favorite, and obviously I need to do a little bit extra. Barbell helps me out a ton because it adds a little bit of extra weight down through my back and helps me get my ankles down. All right, which has been just a lifelong mobility struggle. But anyway, so I'm here, and again, activate my knees out. I'm pushing my hips back, 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 letting my knees continue to track out, getting deep enough, and coming up. There we go. All right. So the reason that I like to do 5x5 is because, well, my first set is after I warm up, by the way. Just go through the motion a few times, make sure everything's working okay. I decided to add some shoes for the extra heel that it is going to get me, just because it appears my ankle mobility has been lacking. So a lot of lifters will have some heel as well, but they'll have a less cushy backing as opposed to these tennis shoes. But anyways, I'm going to continue to add weight throughout the 5 sets of 5. So right now, I'm gonna add a little bit of weight for my first working set, and each set of 5 after that, I'm going to add additional weight. So the theory behind that is, so your type 1 fibers, type 1 muscle fibers, they're more so your postural and endurance fibers. So you can think of a distance runner who is continuing to run, say they're doing a marathon. So your type 1 fibers, that would be definitely what they are relying on. Type 1 fibers are endurance fibers. They come back on very quickly, but they're not very strong. So they are, anyway, so we want to fatigue the type 1 fibers. That's what we want to do first. And then we want to continue to sort of wake up and start using and training our type 2 fibers, which are our more powerful, high strength fibers. So we want to fatigue our type 2 fibers that we use more often, and then as we add more weight, we're going to continue to wake up more of our type 2 fibers. And if we can just activate and create those neural pathways to make those type 2 fibers, more of them available, and make them easier to activate, we are going to be much stronger, and eventually we'll be able to make quite a bit of hypertrophy with all those fibers. And so you don't have to be huge to be very strong, and that's kind of the secret behind that. All right, so without further ado, let's get some squats. All right, let's get this first working set of 5. All right, and I'm setting up my feet, angling my femurs out a little bit, adducting. That just means outward. Adduct goes this way, abduct goes this way. All right, without further ado, let's get this first working set of 5. And if you want a little science term for what we're doing with our femurs when we're activating them out, we are adducting them. So that is taking something from the midline and going outward. Abduction would be coming inward, or rather this leg right now it is adducting with 2 Ds, and now it is abducting, ABD. So you can sort of use that as a anatomical term for anything when we're talking about movement. All right, let's get our set of 5. And we are abducting our femurs to make some room. We're pushing back, activating our glutes, going down nice and easy, low enough. Keeping our heels on the ground. There we go. Nice and controlled. And racking the body. All right, so first set is down. I'm going to add a little bit of weight and we will do our second working set of 5. All right, y'all, so I've just added 5 pounds to each side, and hopefully we're gonna activate some more of those type 2 fibers in this set. Actually, it's pretty much guaranteed. So muscles, when they contract, it is an all or nothing experience. So if you are lifting more weight in your squat or in your deadlift or in anything, you are absolutely activating more muscle fibers. All right, so let's get it done. All right, standing up nice and straight. I am getting my feet all set, and I am adducting my femurs, pulling them outward, and I'm pushing my hips back. Going down deep enough, and coming up. All right, well, that set was definitely harder. So, you know, the way you can think about it is definitely, typically the harder it is, the more gains you'll be getting later on after your workout. Not to mention also, when you do lift weights like this, you deplete a little bit of the glycogen in the muscle, which is fantastic because you have a special type of glucose receptor, because glycogen is just a form of glucose or sugars that that comes to the surface of the muscle, and it is going to accept carbohydrate or sugars that you eat after your workout into the muscle before it lets it really spike your blood sugar, and especially to spike it enough to store fat. So what's nice about lifting heavy and depleting some of that glycogen in your muscle is that you can eat more carbohydrates than you could have without your workout, and have them be much less likely to be stored as fat. And that is directionally related to how much you lift. So let's say you're lifting volume as well as your lifting strength, like you're lifting weight. So if I'm gonna do a really heavy deadlift set, say I do a 5x5 of deadlift, which is typically the lift that everyone can lift the most at, versus doing a just body weight kickboxing class. So I'm gonna it's a tricky one because I will probably deplete a larger amount of glycogen in the kickboxing class, but I'm going to definitely get a higher strength response and I'll grow some more muscle. I'll be much more likely to get more muscle fibers if I do the deadlift set. And I will have a little bit of glycogen depletion there as well. Maybe like say you do an hour kickboxing class versus this, you'd probably have about twice the reserves over here in kickboxing, but long term, the muscle growth and the fact that muscle is active is going to give you a ton of really, really substantial health benefits, more so than working out more of your aerobic type fibers that you would be doing in your kickboxing class. So your deadlift is going to be a lot more type 2 fiber work, growing those hard to activate muscle fibers and making it more easy for you to activate them and call upon them when you need them, versus the kickboxing class where you are working out your aerobic system, you are depleting glycogen from your type 1 muscles, and you're still going to get that reservoir sort of effect, but you will not grow more muscle fibers. And your muscle fibers are very metabolically active, and they are in themselves a positive health, they're linked to positive health outcomes and being more resilient from different things. Anyways, thank you for this rant. All right, I'm gonna add some weight and let's do our third set. All right, and we're about to get our set 3 of 5, and I've just added an extra 2.5 to each side because that last set was a little difficult, definitely starting to feel it, so I'm gonna slow down my increase in weight per set. And by the way, a reason to hold your weight or even decrease your weight a little bit is going to be, well, of course, pain, but also if you can feel or notice your form diminishing. So one of the most common things that is going to happen with people with squats is sometimes you'll see their knees cave inward. So if you haven't taken a lot of time and you don't have a large squat history building up these muscles that are gonna hold your hips out where they need to be, you can see your knees maybe collapsing in a little bit if the weight gets too heavy. So if that is the case, either hold your weight and go slow and see if you can really concentrate and train your body how to keep that movement pattern, or back off on the weight just a little bit. So good form and training good form is so much more important, especially because it's easy to get injured lifting weights. All right, so let's do our next set. All right, and here we are again, a little outside of shoulder width for me, and I'm activating my knees out. I'm gonna flex my butt a little bit just to get it active, and I'm pushing my hips back, going down, 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 and really driving up through my heels to come back up. There we go. Oh, and there's something to note. You should have the weight on your heels, not your toes. So pushing it back, you want all the weight in your heels. You should be able to wiggle your toes. All right. All right. Well, this is starting to get a little heavy, or maybe you could say it's starting to get a little fun. On my heels, so I'm gonna go down, 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 and I should be able to wiggle my toes. If I'm coming forward, that's very bad. So that's actually why I put my shoes on, is because when I was warming up today, I just didn't have it, you know? I needed this extra little heel support to be able to get down and have good form here at the bottom. So this is parallel, this is a little below, and be able to wiggle my toes. All right, so let's add some more weight and get our next set. All right, so 2 more sets left. And I'm actually going to give you a front view because we have not done that yet. So I'm going to grab the weights the way this squat rack isn't really designed to do it. And I will walk through. And by the way, what I'm doing here, which I haven't mentioned, is I have these 2 little lines here and I'm lining up my hands between them to make it even, because I guess it goes without saying, you want the barbell to be balanced on your back. So if it's off to one side, the weight is going to be unevenly distributed. All right, so I'm coming through, getting the weight balanced on my back. I'm going to come forward and get ready to squat. So I am putting my legs a little bit wider than shoulder width, and again activating our knees out. This is getting pretty heavy for me, so you might start seeing me look a little less graceful as I'm lifting. All right, so here, activating, pushing out, back, 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 and that's 1, 2, 3, 2 more, woo! 4 and 1 more. All right, so I am re-racking the barbell very carefully and woo, getting ready for my last set. That was pretty hard. So I probably just gonna add 2.5s again, and that'll be my final working set. This is the very last set of 5, and you know, just do whatever you gotta do if your form isn't breaking down to convince yourself to finish these last 5 reps, because every single one of these reps is going to give you much more muscle gain than all of your other sets of 5. So you definitely want to finish your workout, and you can think about it like that, you know? All right. Whew. I'm giving myself a little internal pep talk as well. All right, so I'm lining up my hands evenly, and I'm going to dip my head through the bar, and I'm gonna make sure that it is balanced side to side, and giving myself that little internal boost that I need. Putting my feet a little wider than shoulder width, weight on my heels, activating out, activating those adductors, and pushing my hips back, and here we go. Breathing, by the way, I'll explain something about breathing during your squats right after this set. You hear me breathing out after each rep. There we go, 2 more. And the very last rep of the day. All right, and woo. All right. So when I'm lifting my really heavy sets, what I'm doing is I'm making my, it's called abdominal bracing. So I'm breathing in and I'm contracting my abs, just as if you would if someone was about to punch you in the belly, you know. So what that's doing is that's making all of this musculature and your core really stiff. So really stiff, so you're going to be able to keep your body upright. So as you're squatting, depending on your form, for a lot of people, they're not mobile enough in their hips to stay completely up and down. So they might come a little forward. So bracing your abdominal muscles is going to help keep this whole unit sturdy and still, so you're not going to be losing any energy through having a soft floppy core that can just move around, and that would pass off the burden of balancing you and keeping you strong and sturdy to other muscles. So, you know, the one thing that the core does really well is, while it is a mover, different directions. Probably the most important thing that your core does is be able to completely tighten up and be solid and still against energy going different directions. So you can think about how hard a plank gets after, you know, a minute or for some people, you know, 30 seconds or whatever. So it's kind of that concept. So anyways, if your core isn't doing its job, then all this other musculature is gonna do a lot of extra work. So what I'm doing anyways, right before I lift, is I'm coming up under the bar and I'm breathing in, and I'm holding that during my heavy reps. So if I'm doing just bodyweight squats, I don't really need to do that because it's just not that important. It's very easy at this point in my fitness career to do a bodyweight squat, and it's not anywhere near my max lifts. So you're gonna do this whole abdominal bracing anytime you're doing any really heavy lift, where it's a deadlift, a squat, an overhead press, and it's really gonna help you bang out some extra pounds on your lifts. So anyways, I hope this has been educational and that you learned something, and that hopefully you have some fun, you feel inspired to go do some lifting, and to not be afraid to start, you know, adding some pounds to your lifts and some pounds to your muscles. Anyways, this has been a blast, and thank you for joining me in my workout.